We'll put it like that.
Nice.
What's it like? I was actually there in attendance in Cleveland for Coe's first career NFL touchdown, which was awesome. And,
Awesome.
It was a great game. You could hear me on camera. I was just screaming, "Say it ain't so, Coe! Say it ain't so!" Sadly, from there, the game kind of went off the rails a little. That was the last high moment of that game, but it was a great game. Overtime loss, fun time.
Yeah.
But how was that moment for you? Seeing the first, whether it was on TV, in person, wherever you were, seeing his first NFL touchdown. How was that?
Well, dude, I mean, we were at home because it was a away game. We don't travel to a lot of the away games because we can get into that later. But to watch that and to think I wished I was there live. So to have your video was so cool, and just that, this is so cool. I mean, that was so cool for us. Catching it from Tom Brady, right? Like he's got the ball yet. I mean, first NFL touchdown means a lot, right? I mean, as a dad, this is so cool to see. And it's just, it was fun to watch. And, it didn't have the outcome we wanted, but still the same. What a memory! What a memory to have, right? So,
and honestly,
cool.
those. One of the best guests ever, the Buccateers in the house tonight. You guys hear him on Tampa radio all the time. He's one of the best in the business. My favorite personal in the business. That's why I'm elated tonight. Growing up in the Chicago area, you're used to sports radio. That's what gets me through the day. So this man does help get me through the day, I will say, with the Pat and Aaron show at work. Nothing like it. So it's incredible. It looks like we got Stunna bumbling in. I'm Tampa Tones. We are joined by lead goon tonight, host of the Pat and Aaron show of WDAE, Pat Donovan. And it sounds like Stunna is bumbling a little bit. Going to put him on mute for a second until that gets a little clear. But we're joined by Pat Donovan.
It looks like Stunna's hanging out with Cheech and Chong in a car with the windows up or something over there.
It does look like he got a little...
No, my camera's broke.
And he was trying to pull me in big time. And then I was like, nothing's happened with Indianapolis yet. Like, I really want to give Indy a chance. And then also I talked to Cody Gruden, once he took over Rich McCann, and still like, well, look, I was like, y'all just give me the opportunity to explore free agency, see what's going on, and then kind of make it do it.
All right, everyone, you are tuned into the Buccateers of wide receiver Kalen Geiger, and we are about to have a great pod. This is the Buccateers. You're tapped in, and here we go. Howdy ho, howdy hey, how the hell is everybody? J-Lo, let us know if you could hear us, see us on YouTube. We're having technical difficulties with the YouTube stream right now. We are live on Facebook as well. Facebook seems to be working. We're up and rolling, but YouTube, it seems like we are having a little technical difficulties. We're getting comments, but I'm not sure if we're actually visible right now on YouTube, but we're going to try and figure that out. A-Cats and Tampa Tones here on our dive into the 813 monthly history show. It's always something, sadly, seemingly, Cats, but good to see you, brother. I'll figure it out. J-Lo says he hears us, so that's good news right there, brother. I guess it's just some people's links, but how you doing?
Good. Well, doing well. Like when you're 5-1, you're naturally feeling pretty good. So glad to be here, and boy, top of the NFC feels great.
It truly does feel great, Cats, and it seems like we're in the midst of a playoff run right now. And J-Lo says he can't see us, but he sees us on his Fire Stick. So this isn't really making sense. So, Cats, it's one of those things where we'll just go live, and if we got to edit the video after, whatever we have to do, we'll do it, brother. But one of those things where technology never fails.
Yeah, as long as they can hear us, we'll take that.
Yeah, we got Bucs Rays Bolts saying LFG. I'm just confused though, because I Have no idea what's going on, but I'll try and figure it out, see what's happening, see what's going on. Speaking of happening and going on, Bucs are in the midst of a playoff run, seemingly. Cats, you got the Eagles, you got a lot of other Seahawks, Niners, playoff contenders, and now you have another one with Detroit. And there we go. We just popped in on the YouTube. So boom, we are live back on the YouTube. But Cats, this is seemingly a playoff run here for this Buccaneers team. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, iron sharpens iron. So, starting with the Philly game and, going through the Detroit game, it won't be our last because after the bye week, there's some toughies as well. But so far, the Bucs have passed the test. You lose a tough one to Philly, but, right down to the wire. And then impressive wins against Seattle and San Francisco. So, really like how this team is trending.
Yeah, and we're trying to get going here. We appreciate everybody sticking with us. Bucks, Rays, Bolts, J-Lo, everybody. I'm not sure if it's a YouTube malfunction or what the case might be, but we are live here on the Buccaneers Shorts, everything. Oh, so it's not just us, it's everything affected right now on YouTube. That's good to know, Cats. Makes me feel a little bit better. I thought I was.
No, it's their end. So,
Yeah, thanks for letting us know. Sarah doesn't know. I guess you do know about it. So YouTube is a little backed up right now. We apologize for the inconvenience. Some people are getting it, some people aren't getting it. Just power with us, power through, and we'll see the best we can do. But we apologize for the inconvenience on YouTube's behalf. Damn it, see what tries to happen when we have a good time. But speaking of good time, Cats, this Bucs team, really good time, and it's 50 seasons, and this is a history show, and I thought, why not do an ode to history? Why not do kind of a fun thing here and go over maybe the top snubs or next guys up for this Bucs Ring of Honor? There's a lot of candidates out there, a lot of choices out there, Cats, and they could be anything stemming from the broadcast booth to the playing field.
Yeah, it's there's more than it's hard to come up with a list how many more currently are deserving because obviously there's several current players that are shoo-ins for the Ring of Honor, undoubtedly. So I'm not going to include them in this. I think they kind of speak for themselves as well. But there's definitely some honorable mentions. There's I have 5 in mind. Actually, I had 5 in mind, and then a 6th one came to mind. Guys that I think are absolutely deserving.
Yeah, there's a lot of great guys, a lot of great choices. Cats, this isn't going to be easy as Bucks Rays Bolts. I think YouTube is down. Yep, that is true. Sad to see, but hey, we're battling through it. We're powering through here. Too bad we didn't draft Scattaboo. I really wanted the dude to be our number 2 after White's contract was up. What say you on that, A-Cats?
Well, I like Scatterbo quite a bit. I just think the way the draft was is we needed to bolster our defense and also bolster our wide receiver room because Mike Evans, as much as we would love to deny it, is not going to play forever. So I just don't think that was a position of need. However, that doesn't mean that, and they did get the Bucs did add Josh Williams as an undrafted free agent who they like quite a bit. So to give us some depth in that room.
Yeah, so I am going on other live videos, not to keep going back and changing the subject, but other live videos on YouTube as well are getting the same error message, getting the same feedback. So it is a outage. And Gene, our great podcast partner, Gene from Buck What You Heard, also confirms YouTube is down right now. So hop onto our Facebook. That's why we're on multiple platforms. If you still want to see the show, we're at Bucks Life LLC on Facebook, or look up Anthony Tones on Facebook as well. Either one of those, and you'll be able to see the live Facebook stream as we're battling through the shenanigans of YouTube. Damn it, YouTube! Now I was messaging Katz at the beginning. Man, I think something's wrong. I'm just trying to get the pod going, but I played the countdown over and over again. Now it's going to be like a really long countdown, but glad we're here now. And Katz, I've really had a hard time morphing this list into just 5. I mean, it is a Ring of Honor, though, so at day's end, you do kind of look back and think of it like, should that person be in? I don't know if you kind of have that same thought process. It's like you kind of made a big list initially, but then after thinking about it and really crunching it down, you were able to sift it out for the most part.
For the most part. Although I have, in terms of people that are not currently in the organization or former players, I got 6 in there, and I'm trying to decide which one I'm going to leave out, or maybe I'll just at the end say, here's honorable mention to, well, you'll have to wait and find out.
Yeah, and I'm excited. I am excited to go over this. Sorry, my cam's off. I'm trying to work behind the scenes and get us up on YouTube, see if I could do anything about it. I don't think there's anything I could do, sadly. You guys think CD is playing? I wouldn't rush it. I wouldn't rush him back. What say you, Katz?
Well, they probably need him to outscore Washington. But I don't know. I think if he was limited in practice, then that's probably a good sign that he'll be back.
I agree. Yeah, he probably will be back. If he's ready to be back, bring him in. If he's not ready, leave him be. It's really as simple as that to me. But don't rush him back. If he's ready and he's limited, he'll probably be back. Those signs usually trend towards a guy playing. So that's just how it is. Jalen McMillan, I'm not hearing until probably around December now, Katz.
Yep.
What say you?
I'm hearing the same thing. Yep, sometime in December.
Hey, looks like Bucko got in, saying, is that old boy Katz? Yep, it is. It is Bucko in the house, Katz.
Oh, good to see you, Bucko. Absolutely. Yes, it is me in the flesh, Great to have you here.
Yeah, Bucko, we're doing our history into the 813 show, and tonight we're highlighting our Ring of Honor next invitees or next people up maybe to be in the Buccaneers ROH. The link is working now. Awesome. So great to see. It looks like we might be back here. And yeah. That's why you're not even here, because you're a great face for radio too, buddy. That's just how it is, my friend. So there's Bucko, always with a comment, always making a comment. We love you, Bucko. We hope to see you on soon. But Kat's going to start with you here. I don't know. How did you rank him this time? I remember when we did the last rankings, you did chronological order. Are you doing the same this time, or are you ranking him differently?
I'm doing chronological.
Antonio Brown tossed shirt of honor. What say you on that?
Antonio Brown. No comment.
No love for throwing your shirt into the crowd, throwing your gloves into the crowd, causing a ruckus, possibly causing the Bucs, another run at the Super Bowl. Yeah, no big deal, right?
No, not at all. And, for everybody to see, that was not the finest moment.
At least in his sakes that he helped win us the Super Bowl, but still get out of here. Hardy MF Nickerson says Bucko. He might be on our list. We'll find out here shortly. Maybe in honorable mentions. Wink, wink. Maybe not. Who knows what's going on? But we are live here on the Buccateers. It seems like YouTube's back up and running. If you're joining us late, had technical difficulties, thanks for sticking with us here on the Buccateers. YouTube is now back, and so are we. Is Coral's in the Ring of Honor? Should be. He is not in the Ring of Honor. But Katz, it's an interesting point because Corals is a player and also a very effective front office member as well. Do you think that could eventually bode into his case before we get into the list of the Ring of Honor? Because he's technically a 2-time Super Bowl champ now.
Yeah, he definitely is someone that'll be in the conversation. I'll say that I would initially lean no in terms of the Ring of Honor. But you can definitely make a case for Sean Quarles.
Yeah, you could, and you can make a case for a lot of these guys. That's why I think it's a good topic. It's an interesting topic because you really could truly, it's a good argument to be had. It's like a Hall of Fame, right? This person should get in or this person should get in. It's really objective and one of those things that people get opinionated over. I see Bucs fans on Twitter all the time parading around, hey, this person should be in the Ring of Honor. This person should be in the Ring of Honor. So this is a very fun topic, not an easy topic, but a fun topic. Corals was a tackling machine. He sure was. And he's a great guy, Katz. I know that's not weighed into it, but he's always willing to say hi to the fans, sign autographs, that sort of thing.
I met Sheldon Crawls quite a few times back in the day. Yeah, very nice person. And a fun fact, he does calligraphy. So he has one of the nicest autographs I've ever seen.
Dude, his autograph is so nice. I'm going to pull it up one of the shows, but I got it on a mini helmet, a napkin, a couple other things. But his autograph is really, really nice.
Yeah, it was one of those they would say, well, so tell everyone about your secret about yourself or a hidden talent they do on the video board. And he was like, I do calligraphy. Something, oh, okay. Could see it in the autograph.
That's really cool. And a cool thing with him, I actually have a cool story with him quick before we get to a Ring of Honor list and whatnot. I actually ran into him in the hotel in Indianapolis when I was staying down there one time, and he was cool. I was like, oh, hey, Shelton, what's up? Went up to him. And, he was, oh, hey, what's up? So just kind of said, what's up? And then I'm sitting there getting dinner and drinks with my old man. And we're just sitting there in Shelton Corals. All of a sudden, get a little bump under the table. And what do I see? It's a Super Bowl ring. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's really cool, man. And he's like, oh, try it on and stuff. I'm like, are you kidding? Really? And he's like, yep, try it on, blah, blah, blah. And it was a new Super Bowl ring from his time as the front office member. And then all of a sudden, about 20, 30 minutes later, comes back with his player Super Bowl ring. Same thing, bumps me under the table, lets me try it on and stuff. I'm like, holy crap, this is cool. Got a picture with him with the ring on and everything. But that's just the type of guy Shelton Corals is, Katz. He's a really cool dude.
He always my experience as well. It's great that you get to meet him and try that on. That's awesome.
A little, but yeah, not that kind. Get your head out of the gutter a little bit. I'm kidding, but there we go. Katz, do you want to kick things off? I'm gonna do the same order again, 5-1 in terms of one being most worthy. All are worthy in my opinion, but that's how I'm gonna rank them, and you're doing chronological again. So if you want to kick things off for our Ring of Honor top 5, Katz, as Olivia joins us. Hey, Olive, we love our lady listeners. Welcome in. Thanks for battling through the YouTube struggles. If you're still with us or just joining us, we do appreciate it. But Katz, go ahead and get us started, brother. Who's your number 5 Ring of Honor worthy member for this Bucs team?
Going chronologically means I can hedge a little bit in terms of who doesn't end up on this list, if you know what I mean. Starting with James Wilder, I feel like he's been passed over for a while now. Now, he was before my time, but just having seen highlights of him, looking at his career numbers, he was, and he's, obviously was on some there were lean years. He did make the playoffs twice, but he had some great years. He was a really great player on some mostly bad teams. So I feel like he should have been in a while ago. If you look at Jimmy Giles, he's in. Doug Williams is in. Leroy Selman is in. Coach McKay is in. So I feel, you want to kind of round out that early, decade or so-ish of the franchise. James Wilder should be in the Ring of Honor.
Yeah, and a lot of people agree with you there, Katz. One of the most prolific offensive players and runners in Bucs history. Did it early on, too. So really good stuff there on his behalf. Kind of was a limelight of Buccaneer football in an era that really didn't have too great of positives. So Bucko's saying got to catch a game with us soon. Yeah, absolutely, Bucko. Totally do, my friend. That would be cool to do a Buccateer takeover, right? The Buccateers go to a game and just take over. His son been begging for it, James Wilder's son. Yeah, Katz, have you noticed that? Have you seen much of that? James Wilder's son kind of,
on Twitter. Yeah, I've seen it a few times. You said Pops should be in. Pops should be in. I I feel him. I understand where he's coming from. I agree with him.
And to me, there's, I know it is the Ring of Honor, as we discussed, Kat. So it is one of those things where it's hard to necessarily, get in. It's like a Hall of Fame, so to speak. So it's not one of those things you can just kind of pick and choose who's in, who's not. But at day's end, James Wilder is definitely one of those guys that a lot of Bucs fans think he should be in. I like that one a lot. I do like James Wilder a lot. Maybe he'll be on my list too. You never know. But for those wondering, I got a text. Could you guys go over quickly who is in the Ring of Honor? Sure, briefly to run it down, just so everybody knows. You have Leroy Selman, you have John McKay, you have Jimmy Giles, you have Paul Gruber, you have Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, Mike Elstott, Doug Williams, John Lynch, Malcolm Glazier, John Gruden, Tony Dungy, Rondé Barber, Monte Kiffin, Bruce Arians, and Simeon Rice. So if you don't hear us say any of those names, that's because there are the Ring of Honor. Don't be like, oh my God, Katz didn't say Simeon Rice or Tony didn't say John Gruden. It's, well, they're already in the Ring of Honor. So we're not going to be naming those people. But Katz goes in chronological order. James Wilder Sr. I'm going to go with Tom Brady got to be in. Will he make our list? You guys will see. Katz, this isn't easy. A lot of people worthy. I'm doing mine from 5-1 in terms of worthiness, but everybody's worthy, so don't take this as a knock. But I'm just gonna, rip the Band-Aid off here. And I know a lot of people will disagree with me, but for my number 5, I'm going Hardy Nickerson. And I know a lot of people will say too low on your list. He should be higher on your list, but to me, there's a lot of worthy candidates. I'll get into mine. And again, this is only for retired people, personalities, and whatnot. So can't really put a Gene Deckerhoff in, can't put a Mike Evans in yet. I'm putting Hardy Nickerson to be my 5th because Katz, I would put him higher, but again, you'll see why I don't. I'll make that case as I kind of reveal my list. And I still think he's worthy to get in. I think all these guys are worthy to get in. What hurts his case is he left before we won a Super Bowl. I think that does hurt. Not that it should, because not everybody won a Super Bowl here, but the fact that he left right before we won it is part of the reason why I personally think he might not be in yet, Katz. And reason number 2 being that you look around the Ring of Honor and it's like, all right, a lot of these players are people, not coaches necessarily. Well, some of the coaches too, but a lot of these guys were Bucs for a long time. Obviously, Brady could break that longevity, and Nickerson was a Buc for a pretty good amount of time too. But fact of the matter is, a lot of the guys in the Bucs Ring of Honor were only on the Bucs or one other team. Hardy Nickerson was also a Steeler. That's where he started his career for a long time. Then he went to Jacksonville. Then he went to Green Bay as well. So Katz, right, wrong, or indifferent, I think those could be 2 possible reasons of potentially why Hardy Nickerson isn't a member of this Bucs ROH yet. Sorry, you're on mute. What were you saying?
I would agree with your reasoning as well. However, he was here for 7 or 8 years. I still have a Hardy Nickerson action figure I got when I was about 10. He actually is next in my chronological order.
Oh, wow. Are we going to be doing this again, back and forth?
I don't know. We might. He definitely should be in. He was here. He came in, before, obviously, you talk about how Brooks and Sapp, really the culture changers. But he was here before them. So, and, he kind of taught them the ropes as far as what it meant to be, successful in this league. He was a professional, consummate pro, a heck of a playmaker. He did not win a Super Bowl here. He did leave before then. But he was, a leader. He was the leader before Brooks became the leader. That 99 defense particularly was incredible. Being here in 97 when they broke their playoff drought. So I absolutely think he should be in. And another reason why I really strongly believe he should be in is Derek Brooks, when he was did a brief, discuss this and mentioned, he said Hardy Nickerson belongs in our Ring of Honor. So Derek Brooks says so and so should be in the Ring of Honor, then they need to be in the Ring of Honor. There's not much else needs to be said, in my opinion.
Yeah, pretty cut and dry. Derek Brooks, Mr. Buccaneers, seemingly, right? Still one of the faces of Buccaneer football. As we are live here on the Buccateers. If you're watching on YouTube right now, hit that like button, subscribe button, turn that notification bell on. Katz Tampa Tones taking you through our top 5 Bucs Ring of Honor candidates or guys you could potentially see in next. Katz going chronological order. I'm going 5 to 1, worst to first order, although there's no worst, so that's bad verbiage for that. But Katz goes James Wilder and Hardy. I'm going with Hardy, and then my number 4 is next. We have a couple comments about Sam Weish, Ali Marpet, Tom Brady being potentials. Maybe those are names that we will float around here a little bit as well, seemingly in the near future. Right now, Katz and myself naming the Bucs Ring of Honor potentials. Pop says Hardy overdue for Ring of Honor for sure. Was a guy before the guys set the table. Exactly. Hardy definitely deserves to be in. I do think James Wilder as well. Katz, I'm going to go with another one here that might be unpopular or not, but I don't know if he'll be able to get in at this point just because it has been a little bit down the line now. But Tony Mayberry, offensive lineman for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He played in the Paul Gruber, Ian Beckles era, so maybe, because a guy like Gruber's in, he might not be, but 3-time Pro Bowler, second team All-ACC when he was in college. He was a Buck from 1990 to 1999, played the entire career that he had as a Buccaneer, and 3 Pro Bowls is nothing to scoff at here. He did have some playoff games played as well for this Bucs team, Katz. I do like him. He is still a local. He's appearing on a lot of the Tampa YouTube shows about the top, not top, but about the 50 seasons, the 50 anniversary. So it's been fun seeing Tony Mayberry back. I know Ian Beckles references him often, says he sees him often as a friend. But what say you on the possibility of Tony Mayberry? They say I'll take Dave Moore over Mayberry, but what say you, Katz?
I think Tony Mayberry has a very good shot at it, actually. Given his longevity, his success, the Pro Bowls, he was part of the team's. Part of the team when they changed the colors. He was on those playoff teams. I don't recall him missing many games either. He was durable. He was a pro's pro. And I absolutely see him as someone that has, I would put his chances, a high chance that he gets in at some point. Even though it's been a while, I think he has a very good, valid chance at the Ring of Honor.
Yeah, so far we got some good nominations. James Wilder, Hardy Nickerson, Tony Mayberry, Kenyatta Hands of the Face Walker. Yeah, maybe in the Ring of Honor of yellow flags or penalties he might get in. But Katz, I don't think he's going to be getting in this one. What say you?
Yeah, it's not going to happen. He was overdrafted, as it turned out. He had some good moments. He helped us win a Super Bowl. He wasn't great. He was serviceable. But he's a turnstile, but he belongs in the turnstile, not the Ring of Honor, though.
Yeah, speaking of Ring of Honor, my guy Anthony Gator will maybe get in the Florida International Ring of Honor one day. I'm repping for them. They won last night. Friend of the program, Anthony Gator, former Buccaneer. They won a big game last night, and more college football on tonight. You got Delaware and Jack State on right now. You got UTEP, Sam Houston, but you're in the right spot with the Buccateers as we go over our top Ring of Honor nominations. Michael Pittman, only person that could tackle him. Michael Pittman, his arms, Katz, were like watermelons. They were so big out there. His muscles were huge.
Great guy. I actually used to chat with him a bit he would always chat with the fans on social media.
Yeah, when he had a Twitter back in the day, I'm not sure if he still did, but he was actually following people and very talkative on there.
Yeah, I talked with him quite a bit on there. Arms are jacked up. And it's true, he was a very tough guy to bring down, but he did have a tendency, as the poster reference, to trip over his own feet sometimes, which you can laugh about. I'm sure he'd be the first to laugh about it as well. But yeah, he occasionally would trip over his own feet. But when he didn't, he was a heck of a runner, and he was really, really good as a receiver out of the backfield. They line him up as a receiver and match him up on a linebacker. Gruden had quite a bit of success with that, running some wheel routes, for touchdowns, coming up with big plays in the passing game as well. He was a great blocker as well. So yeah, Michael Pittman, very, very fun, enjoyable player to watch. Had a nice career here.
Yeah, he really did have a nice career here, and now his son is having a nice career for the Colts. So cool stuff there. But Katz, Hardy was your last. James Wilder was your fifth. Hardy Nickerson fourth. Who are you going with as your third in your chronological Ring of Honor soon-to-be nominees for the Bucs?
I'm going to go with Warrick Dunn next.
I like that.
Yeah. He, I realize he ended up here for a total of 6 years. He broke the first 5, and then he came back his final year. So he had 2 stints here. I think Warrick Dunn was such a key cog starting in 1997, right off the bat, making an impact. The Bucs return to the playoffs. Him and Allstott, WD-40, such a great tandem. And, just watch. He was a really such an exciting player to watch as well. I think sometimes it gets lost. Maybe people forget. This is a guy, I know he's not Barry Sanders, but his mom would call him Little Barry. And he had a lot of characteristics. He was slippery. He was, once he got in the open field, it was over. He was gone. And surprisingly, he ran. He was a tough little dude. He ran between the tackles. He could block. And obviously, as a receiver coming out of the backfield, he was really special weapon. I wish, that the Bucs, John Gruden wanted to keep him. And what happened was the Bucs just did not have the salary cap space to afford him. That's actually why he left. It wasn't that he didn't want to be here. Falcons had the space. He went there. I don't hold that against him that he left and that he went to a division foe. He's in the Falcons Ring of Honor, and there's no reason why he shouldn't be in ours as well. He also, in addition to that, an absolute class act off the field, on and off the field. Has Habitat for Humanity, the amount of homes he gave single mothers, his whole backstory. Very, active in the community here still. I feel he's someone that's, definitely deserving of the Ring of Honor. Obviously, the unfortunate timing for him was leaving before winning the Super Bowl here. However, that doesn't change what an incredible player he was for this organization.
Yeah, he really was a great player. A lot of people wish he would have won a ring with us, including me. It would have been nice to see him stay and be able to get a ring with us. And he's our guy, Sara, that says, well, we paid Charlie Gardner. I think salaries were comparable. Friend wanted, Gruden wanted his guys, and Katz, that was kind of,
Well, I've got to correct Sara here, because Charlie Garner didn't get a ton of money from the Bucs, but Dunn left after the 2001 season. Charlie Garner didn't get here until 2004, so you had a gap in there. It was Michael Pittman who ended up being the de facto replacement for Warrick Dunn, and he came quite a bit cheaper than what the Falcons paid Warrick Dunn. Charlie Garner, at the point we paid him...
We paid him pretty cheap, if I want to remember Charlie Garner, because he was only, I think he was a one and done and then retired.
Yeah, he was one and done. He was a good runner. He got hurt. And Pittman was not highly compensated either, that I recall. He certainly made a lot less than Warrick Dunn, because had Warrick Dunn gotten the money Michael Pittman got, he would have resigned. So Dunn was much more expensive.
Yeah, you're right on the Gruden wanted his guys part, but that one was a little, hey, it happens. 20 years memory fades, but what doesn't fade is the Ring of Honor, and that's what we're talking about right now here on the Buccateers podcast. We appreciate everybody tuning in, joining us. And I'm just going to throw an honorable mention name out there right now, Katz, because I want to make sure I bring him up now that I'm thinking about him. And I wouldn't be mad one day if he did get in either. Vincent Jackson, he did a lot for the community. He wasn't a Buck for a long time, but the period he was very effective here. A very monumental part in the development of quarterbacks here during his tenure here, whoever he played with, a very monumental part of the development of Mike Evans. So Vincent Jackson, I do want to give an honorary mention to real quick before I get to my third tip of the cap to him. Katz, do you have any honorable mentions you want to mention at this point?
Oh yeah, and may he rest in peace. Of course, Vincent Jackson, a great
Gone way
guy.
too soon.
Way too soon. Honorable mentions, certainly, if I were just thinking of one off the top of my head, Brian Kelly comes to mind. He was he was here a long time. I want to say, I think it was 8 years he spent here. I don't even remember if he played anywhere else after leaving. He might have played for one other team. He was a very solid corner. Didn't put up a lot of gaudy numbers. I don't know if he even made a Pro Bowl, but he was so reliable when he played. He had one injury riddled season, but other than that, he was very reliable. And, definitely, was a key part of that Super Bowl team and many of those great defenses. So, shout out to BK in terms of that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And this one probably won't be popular amongst a lot of people, but I'm going to go with Will Golston, Katz, as my next pick, as my number 3 pick. And a lot of people might think that's controversial because he was never, quote unquote, a Pro Bowl caliber player or all pro caliber player. But what he was a stalwart here on this Buccaneers defensive line for a long period of time, Katz. He was the second longest tenured Buck at the time of his departure. The only one who was longer was Levante David in the 2012 class. Then you had Will Golston in 2013, Mike Evans in 2014. Will Golston was a Super Bowl champion as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, was here for a very long time, 12 seasons to be exact. And Katz, you can't take that for granted. You can't take that lightly. And Will Golston was a guy who adapted to many different playing styles over his career here as well, Katz. He kind of went from a guy that they were like, oh, maybe he's a pass rusher, to they really knew he was a developed run clogger, and it really extended his career. And towards the end of his career, Katz, he was a great mentor. And not only that, he's a great guy off the field for this Buccaneers community as well, the Tampa Bay community. You see him around now still doing radio shows with this Bucs team. He does one every Monday with the players and Casey Phillips now, and really just a great mentor, helping guys out and off the field. Really a good guy, always doing things in the community. He has a lot of good stories about him, both at Michigan State and Tampa Bay, and being a Super Bowl champ and one of the longest tenured Buccaneers of all time, Katz. I think that I would personally like to see him up there one day.
You definitely can make a case, and that's a very good case for him. The durability that he showed, the long tenure that he had. I mean, it's rare to play your whole career with one team, especially when you do it for 12 seasons, if my math is right. For that long, and yeah, big in the community. Still, part of the organization, like you just referenced. A great mentor, absolutely. He always was. And so many players came in and out of this organization during his time here, and there were a lot of lean years as well. He had to play for multiple coaches, multiple guys, and he was oftentimes a very solid player on some very poor teams, and that probably means that a lot of people kind of forget about him. It was not till 2020, as we got to the later stage of his career, that he finally got to be on a team that was worth mentioning, an actual good team. So definitely a very solid candidate, I would say.
Yeah, and he was a good player on special teams as well, Katz. He had a couple field goal blocks, I think, in his career too, and one of those guys that you could just rely on being a special teams body and hopeful in their 20 and a half career sacks for the Bucs, 432 career tackles, 186 career games played and 91 games started. That was another unique thing with them Cats. Whether you started him, whether you didn't, he really didn't care. For instance, in 2020, he started 12 games when he won the Super Bowl. Year before that, he started 8. Year before that, he started 2. Year after the Super Bowl, he started 10. He was one of those guys, Cats, that never complained, came off the bench, or even last year, started 3 games and really dwindled down his playing time. Snap counts really dropped. I think, he's an unselfish guy who I would like to see up there. I know maybe people view Ring of Honor different. Maybe they view it based on the statistics glamour, which if you do, and that's your criteria, great. But in terms of who I'm putting up there, I'm putting Golston. DeMar Dotson getting a shout out. But Cats, who's your number 2 Bucs Ring of Honor candidate?
Well, right off the bat, I'll tell you, this is a guy that became a very polarizing player for the Bucs. A little surprising. So it always kind of surprised me. I think he was a big-time victim of being. I call him a great player. I don't have his stats in front of me on always poor teams, and that's Gerald McCoy. Gerald McCoy was here for 9 seasons. He was on this team. And the only winning season he got to be a part of was his first season, and they didn't make the playoffs. I'm sorry, he was there on two winning teams. Neither made the playoffs. I don't know. You might have it there with how many Pro Bowl. Pro Bowls are one thing. How many All Pros did he have? How many Pro Bowls? I think he had. I think at least a handful. I could be mistaken.
Yeah, and to reference your seasons, he was a member of the 2010 Bucs. Remember when Raheem Morris said we're the best team in the NFC? There I said it, blah, blah, blah. We're the best team in the NFC. And he was adamant about that. He was a rookie that year. So he was a member of that Bucs team. Then he was a member of the 2016 Buccaneer team where they were on Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys, went 9-7. That's when Dirk Cutter was a hot commodity. Now his personal accolades, I think he was a one-time first-team All-Pro, multiple-time 2 or 3 second-team All-Pro, I want to say, in those aspects. So, hey, getting first-team All-Pro is very hard. And then he was a 6-time Pro Bowler, maybe 7. Definitely at least 6, so. But regardless, he has a lot of accolades to back him up, Kat. So that's a very good pick. And as you said, he was kind of the cream of the crop of the alarm clock era. Kind of gave a lot of Bucs fans hopes to watch games on Thursdays, Sundays, and Mondays, and there wasn't a lot of other reasons to.
No, there wasn't. And, great guy also as well in the community. I never heard anything bad, a bad word said, just a really class act all across the board. Very fan friendly. I actually met him at a Rays game once when he threw out the first pitch. It was really cool. But yeah, I think basically at the end of the day, he was a good, at least very good, I'll say a great player on just some awful teams, and that's not his fault. They put together some awful teams. He played for, am I doing the math right here? 1, 2, 3, 4 different head coaches, multiple defensive coordinators. And, it was him and Levante on defense. And after the 2 of those, it was like, nobody really, who else did we have for all those years? Occasionally guys would come in and out. We'd have some good defensive players I'm talking about guys that are Pro Bowlers, stars.
Oh, your buddy Chris Baker.
Oh, swaggy. Oh my God. Obviously like you read Will Golston was here, and he's solid, of course, but there just wasn't, whatever they seemed to do, it just, didn't work. Like guys like, I liked Mason Foster quite a bit, Quan Alexander, good players, not stars. Gerald McCoy and Levante, and they toiled around on bad teams. And, it was just unfortunate for Gerald that, the team, there just wasn't a lot around him when he was here.
I agree with you. There was not a lot around him besides himself, and he was the one who brought light and joy. As our guy says, I'll take McCoy. He has always given Tampa props in all his media stuff. Tampa is getting more and more media personalities to reverse the Tampa Bay media conspiracy. What say you on that, Katz? Media conspiracy in the 813?
I don't know if there's a media conspiracy, but I will say it is very cool to see just the amount of former Buccaneer players that have now joined the media. Gerald McCoy being one of them, and he's all over. You see him a lot. So it really is cool seeing so many former Bucs become members of the media, whether it be local or national.
Yeah, I'm glad there's so many good Bucks to choose from. It makes this really fun. Batman is a potential. Richard Wood for me. I was debating him, Katz. He just barely missed out on my list. What say you on Batman, Richard Wood?
Yeah, he's another one that, from that era, along with like the James Wilders, that, you think to yourself, man, that guy was a heck of a player. A lot of, lean years, unfortunately. So that kind of, I think unfairly maybe has kind of cost him, him along with, then you got other guys like Kevin House, Mark Carrier. These guys played on often such bad teams that they just kind of get lost in the wash. And then you look at their individual statistics and you say, man, those guys, were great Buccaneers. They just were on some, dreadful teams that there just wasn't enough around them for them to be contending teams. And maybe that gets lost. A guy like Batman Wood or Kevin House came to mind because I got to meet Kevin House many years ago at a Buck alumni function. Very cool dude. So, yeah, I think a lot of guys fall victim to circumstance when it comes down to it.
Yeah, I agree. Very circumstantial there. And again, opinionated kind of, or well, at least in these type of discussions that me and you are having, Katz, it's very opinionated of who people think should get in. And again, this might go against the grain, but I'm going to go with Shaq Barrett, Katz, of getting into the Ring of Honor. Came here in 2019, played with the Bucs all the way through last season, took a mini time off, tried to go to Miami, but really never got going there. Came out of retirement to this Buccaneers team, led the league in sacks in 2019, helped win us the Super Bowl in 2020. Really had 3 really good seasons here with this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. And without a guy like Shaq, I don't know if we win that Super Bowl. Here's another great guy in the community. Battled a lot of tough battles and hardships outside of the community, Katz, and he was really one of those free agent bargains that Jason Light is so accustomed to having. One of those guys that came in here on a cheap 1-year contract, ended up having 19 and a half sacks that year to lead the NFL, 2-time second team All-Pro, couple-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champ. Shaq Barrett, do you think he can make a case for the Ring of Honor?
Definitely has a case for it. Such an instant impact player. 2019, double-digit sack guys have been hard to come by for us. And he had no problem doing that right off the bat. Obviously huge in winning that Super Bowl. Absolutely huge. He played great in that NFC Championship game in Green Bay. I thought he took Rodgers down at least once. And then the Super Bowl, they were all over Mahomes and the Chiefs. So, yeah, great. He had a great, career here. He wasn't here a very long time, but he was here long enough that you definitely can make and it's not always about length of time either, make a good case for him. Class act in the community. So he dealt with some very difficult personal hardships as well, losing a child. So Shaq Barrett, absolutely someone that has a viable chance to, a good argument can be made for him to be in the Ring of Honor.
And it was 6 seasons for Shaq, but it didn't feel like that, Katz, for multiple things. His mini retirement and, his injuries, number 2 as well, right? Between missing games with injuries and that retirement factor where he went to Miami and then bowed out of Miami. Those 2 things doesn't make his tenure feel as long as it was here as a Buccaneer. And then, like you alluded to, it's not always about longevity, but I think for borderline guys specifically, that's kind of a good little tactic. A, did you win a ring here? B, how long were you here if you're a borderline guy? And then it kind of gets to the personal elk lad. So, Katz, you're with James Wilder, Hardy Nickerson, worked on Gerald McCoy. I'm with Hardy Nickerson, Tony Mayberry, Will Golston, Shaquille Barrett. I think both of these lists are very worthy, and this is why I said anybody could make cases for a lot of these guys. We had honorary mentions before. Batman Woods we talked about. Vincent Jackson we talked about as well. And Katz, another one of those honorary guys I want to throw out there who I really wanted on this list. But again, you can't squeeze in anybody. Big Bad Brad, friend of the program's Brad Johnson. I would have really enjoyed to see him in this Buccaneers Ring of Honor. What say you? And I love that Sack Ferret and Muscle Hamster got to be inducted in the same year.
Absolutely, Brad Johnson. I mean, he is such a clutch player in that Super Bowl season. And a lot of people forget that, honestly. I think a lot of times it gets forgotten. I mean, Gruden had mentioned it. He was talking about it on the Rondé Barber show. The guy was the leader in passing in the NFC. I believe passing touchdowns. I don't know exactly what stat, but 22 touchdowns, 6 picks, and clutches could be in the playoffs. Ultimately, he's got a Super Bowl ring as the starting quarterback. You also looked at that season, the games he missed. The team's offense went completely dead without him. So, absolutely, Brad Johnson. I would not be shocked if he got in eventually at some point. I really would not be surprised at all if he did get in. A case can be made for him. I always was a big fan of his. So, yeah, definitely worthy of honorable mention, and he might get in someday. No.
Before we get to our top spots or number one spots, do you have any more honorable mentions left that we might not have gotten to yet?
Honorable, it's tough because there's so many. I would say a guy like Ryan Jensen would get some honorable mention. Was he here that long? I think he was here for 4 years. He unfortunately missed the 4th year. Ryan Jensen was really a huge key cog for those teams. Ryan Jensen would be one. And
do you think a kicker would ever get in, like a Grammatica or Matt Bryant type?
I could see Grammatica getting in, actually. He was wildly popular here. I would not put him in, not because I dislike him. I just wouldn't put a kicker in. I don't know, but he definitely was someone that, he was extremely popular here. And, I wouldn't be shocked, actually, if he got in. Another honorable mention for me, just thinking about, some of the teams we put forward through the years. Man, it can be tough. Joey Galloway had a really nice career here.
I like that one. That's a good one.
Yeah, he spent a half a decade. He had 5 years. It seemed like at times, it didn't matter if it was Chris Sims, Brian Greasy, Bruce Gradkowski, Jeff Garcia, who was throwing it to Luke McCown. The guy was finding ways to go downfield and get open, even if the other opponent knew that's where we were going to go with the football. And, he was an electric player. So fun to watch. So definitely, I don't think he'll ever get in. I think he was, the longevity wasn't really there. But definitely someone that, you remember Joey Galloway, his time here, what a unique player he was and how much fun he was to watch and what an impact player he was.
In his best Chris Berman voice, Joey Gall all the way. Chris Berman was awesome. We have a little bit of breaking news. Jonathan Jones out of CBS, NFL and CBS, says Lions defensive back Brian Branch's 1-game suspension for his post-game fisticuffs has been upheld, Katz. So Brian Branch missing Monday. Thoughts on that?
Well, as he should be, because this was the 14th time he's gotten disciplined. So, yeah. I mean, how many times are you going to get disciplined and fined before you get suspended? So, absolutely, it deserves suspension. I mean, even Dan Campbell said it was unacceptable behavior. So, and, he'll rarely say anything bad about one of his own guys. So, yeah, he deserves to be suspended, and, hopefully we can take advantage of that.
My most hated Buck game was Washington beating Sims Bucks back in playoffs. Yep. That's because Cleve's a Colts fan. That's why it's not Peyton Manning Monday Night Leaping game.
Well, that was those are both brutal games.
But
playoff
Cleve and me's a
Yeah.
Colts fan, so that's why that one's not their choice.
Right. Well, that that playoff game to Washington was ridiculous. The Bucs held them to 120 yards of offense. The Bucs were also screwed brutally by the officiating on 3 different occasions in that game, and that's not because of the Edel Shepard play, because he actually did drop the ball, but there were 3 other occasions, and going down the list of them just going to get me all pissed off, but they were completely hosed in that game. I believe a large reason was in the earlier meeting that season, which was one of my favorite Bucs games. Mike Allstock got a 2-point conversion. The Bucs won 36-35. Joe Gibbs whined. No, his elbow was down first. Replays show they were inconclusive. They stuck with the original call. He whined enough, and he's Joe Gibbs, that when we played a rematch in the playoffs, they got every call went their way. So, yeah, that game was infuriating to me.
Another game that upset me, Katz, and that's a great choice. Rams NFC Championship, Falcons Thursday Night Football, all good choices. One that I'm going to lay out there, Katz, is Bucs Lions, and we lost to them in 2010. Ultimately cost us a playoff spot. Kellen Winslow Jr., he's a scumbag, obviously, but he was a good player on the field. He caught that touchdown. They called phantom offensive pass interference on Kellen Winslow Jr. We would have won that game, went on to lose the game. We tied for the 6th seed. There were only 6 seeds back then. We ultimately didn't win the tiebreaker for the 6th seed. And that was a time, Cats, where we were really bad. And us fans would have done a lot of things for a playoff berth. And losing a game like that, Cats to Detroit, really bummed me out back then.
Me too. That one, because it was such a horrendous call. I mean, just absolutely awful call. Where they came up with that. And yeah, unfortunately, because otherwise they're an 11-win team, and Green Bay doesn't win the Super Bowl that year. And if we get in, because they, as I recall, won 10 games also. It's just crazy to think about. I mean, who knows what that group would have done in the playoffs? Because it was kind of like a house. It was like, man, this team, who expected that? Came out of nowhere, and having it taken away from us on an absolute horseshit call was unfortunate. Because that year they came together and played good football. So it's too bad that group was cheated out of a playoff berth, and for us as fans as well.
Yeah, we get text in saying they agree with Katz on the game against the Redskins, his backing in theory of that. So, Katz, you get some support there. I remember watching that game. Michael Pittman got spit on that game by Sean Taylor. Rest in peace, Sean Taylor. But you don't spit on other people, right? And Pittman got spit on that game. That was one of the things I remember. And then I remember Joe Theismann announced that game, and he played on the Redskins, so he was very favorable towards them. And I remember burning all my Redskins football cards in the fireplace after the game, being so pissed off about that. But Cats, time for the top spot. We each gave a good amount of honorable mention guys. We mentioned special teamers, defenders, offensive players. Your chronological order goes James Wilder 5, Hardy Nickerson 4, Warwick Dunn 3, Gerald McCoy 2. Mine goes Hardy Nickerson 5, Tony Mayberry 4, Will Golston 3, Shaq Barrett 2. I have a weird, odd feeling we're probably going to have the same top spot, Cats. What say you?
I think we're not. But keep in mind, part of that is because I went chronologically. So Ali Marpet comes next on my list.
Oh, wow. Okay, I like that.
Yeah, Ali Marpet was, I can't remember, was he 2015 or 16 draft? I think 16. I think 2016 was his draft year. Played for 6 years, and totally respect him retiring when he did. He's now, I believe, getting a doctorate in psychology. I think he's working on it. Just incredibly intelligent guy, total class act. And what an offensive lineman he was. That offensive line that we put together 2020, 2021 with Brady here, that was just a fantastic group. I think he made no disrespect to Donovan Smith, but having Ali Marpet next to him made Donovan Smith better. And I just really loved the way he played the game. He was an absolute mauler of a guard and a class guy on and off the field. And I think he absolutely is deserving of a Ring of Honor. And again, he also is still within the organization. He participates on the player shows as well. I've seen over the years quite a bit since he retired. So to me, I think, I don't know off the top of my head how many All Pros he had or Pro Bowls. He might not have had it. I don't know. I think he had a few All Pros. I could be wrong. But to me,
He went 1-1-1. He had an All-Pro, a Pro Bowl, Super Bowl. I remember because he said that's why he retired too. Once he did those things, he's like, "I'm good."
and I don't blame him because, he made plenty of money. He's very intelligent. He already has his post football career mapped out. Probably had that mapped out from the get go because he's a very intelligent guy. And honestly, I think he should be. I think his possibility of getting in is quite high, very high. In fact,
Feel like he was kind of the modern day Tony Mayberry on that offensive line, and underappreciated guy. So you would not have Tom Brady making it in yours, Katz.
well, no. Remember, I said that I went chronologically, so I ran out of time. So I hedged a bit on that. I absolutely would have Tom Brady in 1,000%.
Yeah, and that's the thing with these, right? There's more than deserving people we could converse about, and I am going with Brady for number one. As Arians went in quickly, I think Brady could go in quickly as well. And I know he only had 3 years here, but Cats, they were probably the 3 best years you could have asked for. Obviously, another Super Bowl ring would have been nice, but I blame that in Antonio Brown injuries, defensive mishaps against the Rams, and that kind of led to not a ring. But you're talking about Brady coming here in COVID 2020. Time is crazy. Winning us a Super Bowl. Then 2021, winning game after game after game. Should have won the MVP over Aaron Rodgers this year, or that year, I'm sorry, in 2021. Then 2022 battles through adversity, comes back, ends up getting on a heater to end the year because we weren't going to make the playoffs. Although we limped into the playoffs, we won 3 in a row. We got to rest our starters that last week. We ended up winning the NFC South for a second straight season, got a home playoff game. So those 3 years alone were incredible. What he did for the city was incredible. Really drove up the real estate market here and all. But he was kind of a larger than life figure here for his time in Tampa, Cats, although brief.
Yeah, and absolutely. Like I said, if I'd said, well, I'm going to leave out the late 70s, early 80s, Brady would have gotten in, On mine, I just went in order. But yeah, 1,000% he should be in. It's shocking that I've seen Buck fans out there that don't think he have complained and said, well, he wasn't here long enough, or they were upset with how the third season went. He changed the culture, and the culture has remained because so many guys that are here now were here when Tom was here, and they learned a lot from Tom Brady that these guys didn't know we're stuck on losing. Mike Evans, Levante, these guys were stuck on losing teams. Again, it wasn't their fault. They were great players on terrible teams. Brady came in, all of a sudden, he taught them how to win, taught them, just the way his work ethic was just phenomenal. And even in the years now since he's been gone, that has not gone. That's still there. And they learned so much from Tom Brady. So, absolute no-brainer to me. I don't know when they'll put him in. I don't know if, how, because they haven't gone in chronological order. They kind of bounce around a bit. I think they went 2 straight years without putting anyone in, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
But yeah, Tom Brady certainly, should 1,000% be in the Ring of Honor, and I'd be stunned if he does not get in.
Brady changed a whole culture, and it's a domino effect. Light changed a culture by hiring Bruce, who signed Ndamukong Suh, who helped bring in Tom Brady. It was a lot of these things, guys, who did help, but Brady obviously a big part of that, and he'll forever change the formation of how this Bucs team and the city of Tampa is viewed in general. If you want to view us in general on the Buccateers, our upcoming schedule, tomorrow we'll have Toe in the Line released, our quick glimpse of an NFL kickoff weekend show. Be on the lookout for that with Joey Nips tomorrow around lunchtime. Saturday, we'll be back for Saturday Showdown, kickoff the football weekend program, bright and early, 9:05 a.m. Eastern, getting you ready for Bucs, college, NFL, and more. Than Monday, we'll be back with our Man Cave Monday show, just released yesterday. It was our campus kickoff with J-Lo. He's doing a great job with college and all, Mr. Katz, and we'll be back sometime in November with another great episode of Bucs history. Couple more topics here, Katz. First and foremost, Bucs Ring of Honor member, we got the best of John Lynch. Quick thoughts on finally being able to upend John Lynch. He's always been a kryptonite of this team.
Yeah, the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan to me is one of the best innovators in terms of offense in the NFL. Some people may disagree, but most would agree. And, he caught us, the 2022 team, was not a very, but not a great team by any means. The 49ers were at the top of their game that year. 2023, we got a little closer. And then last year, I thought, could have had that one. But I was thinking they're trending correctly. Both teams totally banged up with injuries. But finally, like you mentioned, this team, and I'd heard that they had this game circled. They're tired of losing to the 49ers. Came out with when you hold a team to 19 points, you got this team. If you hold a team to 19 points, more often than not, I think the Bucs are going to win the game. They did a great job, and then obviously, Baker did what he had to do. He did his thing. He came up with one of the best quarterback runs I've ever seen in terms of a play that there was just nothing there, it looked like, and he turned that in. And the way everybody stepped up in this game, because you're down all your top four receivers, you got wide receiver 5, 6, and 7 stepping up. Josh Grizzard called an outstanding game, I thought, in this one. And yeah, kudos to the Bucs on gritting it out. I know, like I said, both teams were just ravaged by injuries, so that cancel each other out, and ultimately it was the Bucs came out on top. And in this one, we didn't need a last-second comeback. It was a comeback win, but excuse me, technically it goes as another comeback win, but we only trailed for about, it felt like 2 seconds. They were up 10-7. We answered in the next drive, and that was that. We never trailed again, even though the Niners kept creeping closer. We traded touchdowns for field goals in our favor, and that was great to see.
It really was. First win in victory formation, which we're about to be in here shortly. Katz Tampa Tones on the Buccateers. Hit that like button, subscribe button. Turn that notification bell on as we gave you guys our top 5 Ring of Honor tonight. And Grizzard is a hot commodity. And speaking of hot commodity, Katz, Jamel Dean has been a hot commodity. His birthday today. Gets named Defensive NFC Player of the Week today. And then meet and greet you and the great J-Lo, who does the campus kickoff here on the Buccateers and other shows as well. You guys both got to meet him at the liquor store yesterday. He's a very cool dude, always nice, really humble.
Yeah, great guy. It's funny. I said, don't make a scene. And he did a funny little pose when he took that photo with me. Yeah, great guy. I learned about him, and I didn't know he actually owns his own trucking. I didn't learn this yesterday. I already knew. He owns his own trucking company here in the area as well. So he's a smart businessman. Obviously already looking ahead, planning for retirement. Don't expect him to retire anytime soon, but he's great guy. What a season. I've always liked Jamel Dean. I know a lot of Buc fans get frustrated that he hasn't picked off a ton of passes in his career. He's had injury issues, but what they don't realize, I don't think, is he had to have his first surgery, if I'm not mistaken, when he was in high school. So he's overcome a lot. He had 3 in total. It's a tough sport. It's a violent sport. He's had injury issues. It's not his fault. That's just the way it goes sometimes. And you look at their record when he's not on the field. Last year, they lost 4 in a row with him off the field. And he talked today in his interview with the media about, briefly about things he tried to change in the offseason to prevent injuries. Obviously, it's no guarantee it'll do that, but hopefully he can stay healthy because he's having an outstanding season. I looked at some of the next generation stats and all that, passer rating allowed, and he's at the top of the heap and everything. And you saw how we looked. I don't think it's coincidence that the Seattle game was our worst defensive performance of the season. He was not in. He wasn't the only one that missed the game, but he was not in there. So to me, that's not a coincidence.
The great Matt Kratz, friend of the show, says, boys, enjoying the show tonight. Podcast on, always great points made and great perspectives. We appreciate you tuning in, brother. Very much so appreciated for our history into the 813, a dive into the 813 Tampa Sports History Show. Katz Tampa Tones here. We also have the great Dave Castle joining on Facebook. We appreciate people like you guys who make the show into what it is today. And Katz, before we bounce out, thoughts on Detroit. The Eagles came to town and kind of started this playoff stretch of Eagles, Seattle, San Fran, now Detroit. Katz, before we head out, before YouTube goes down again or something, God forbid. But final words on the game on Monday, part of a doubleheader, 7 o'clock Eastern for this Bucs team.
Well, I think the Bucs, if they can hold up on the offensive line, and I do, from what it seems, I'm going to say, I think Mike Evans will return for this game. I don't think Ibuka will play, but I think Mike will. They should have, the ability to make plays down the field as long as they can hold up front. Defensively, it looks like we're going to have, getting our secondary back. So I can see us being able to at least slow this Lions offense down. But I think ultimately you're not going to see a 20-16 game like last year. You're going to see a high scoring game. And we've got Baker Mayfield. I always like our chances.
Couldn't agree more. I always like our chances as well when we have 6 in our corner. Tough stretch, playoff type stretch here, but the Bucs are getting through it. Jacob Parrish and Ibuka, probably 2 of the first rookies ever, Katz, to be in top offense and defensive rookie of the year, rolling for. And Tez, he's rolling as well. He had a really good catch. Eli Roberts is looking good, rookie defensive lineman. David Walker out for the year. He'll be effective. Benjamin Morrison, when he plays, he's good. So very good rookie-looking class so far, Katz. Once again, top 5 Ring of Honor potentials, Katz and me. El Monito joining us on Facebook as well. Shout out to El Monito. Better late than never. But Katz goes James Wilder, Hardy Nickerson, Warwick Dunn, Gerald McCoy, Ali Marpet. I go Hardy Nickerson, Tony Mayberry, William Golston, Shaq Barrett, Tom Brady. But that's Katz. I'm Tones. It's been an incredible dive into the 813 tonight, Katz. A look into Tampa sports history. Next month, we'll have a very fun show and topic as well, brother.
Absolutely. Appreciate everyone tuning in and interacting with us. Look forward to our next show, and already really looking forward to Monday night.
Yeah, I hope to see you Saturday. If not, I'll see you Tuesday, brother.
Absolutely. Have a great night, Tones, and everyone, all of our listeners again. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks again for sticking through the YouTube technical difficulties as well. We made it, Katz. Me and you. Fire the damn cannons. Go Bucs on Monday. We'll see you guys soon. See you guys tomorrow on Toe in the Line. Thanks again, Tones, Katz. We out. Peace. Bro, we'll put it like that.
Nice.
What's it like? I was actually there in attendance in Cleveland for Coe's first career NFL touchdown, which was awesome. And,
Awesome.
It was a great game. You could hear me on camera. I was just screaming, "Say it ain't so, Coe! Say it ain't so!" Sadly, from there, the game kind of went off the rails a little. That was the last high moment of that game, but it was a great game. Overtime loss, fun time.
Yeah.
But how was that moment for you? Seeing the first, whether it was on TV, in person, wherever you were, seeing his first NFL touchdown. How was that?
Well, dude, I mean, we were at home because it was a away game. We don't travel to a lot of the away games because we can get into that later. But, to watch that and to think I wished I was there live. So to have your video was so cool. And just that, this is so cool. I mean, that was so cool for us. Catching it from Tom Brady, right? Like he's got the ball yet. First NFL touchdown means a lot, right? I mean, as a dad, that's so cool to see. And it was fun to watch. And, it didn't have the outcome we wanted, but still the same.